Okay, so today we're going deep on a case that is, well, frankly, it's both fascinating and chilling.
Yeah, I agree with that assessment.
The story of Peder Rasmussen.
The Chameleon
All
Killer.
right, we're really going to untangle this web, and we've got excerpts from his Wikipedia page to work with here.
Yeah, I think that'll be really helpful to kind of get a full picture of this
It's a
guy.
long one, too, so
Buckled up.
exactly. So this guy was a master of disguise and deception, leaving behind just a trail of mystery and heartbreak all across the U.S. And our mission today is to really try to understand how Rasmussen was able to evade capture for so long and the impact his actions had, on the lives of his victims.
Yeah, and what's truly I think fascinating about Rasmussen is that ability to just constantly reinvent himself.
Yeah,
And that allowed him to really kind of operate under the radar for years. It's almost a classic case of how a lack of a fixed identity can be weaponized,
right.
turned into this powerful tool for manipulation and deception.
Yeah, almost like a superpower in a way.
Almost. Yeah.
So let's start at the beginning.
Okay.
Rasmussen was born in 1943 in Denver. Colorado, attended high school in Arizona, but dropped out.
Okay.
Then he's enlisted in the Navy.
Mm-hmm.
He trains as an electrician. He's discharged in 1967.
Interesting.
So already we're kind of seeing this pattern of starting things, not quite finishing them.
Yeah, that's a great observation, actually, that early restlessness, I think, might offer a glimpse into his later behavior.
Yeah.
This kind of inability to settle or commit, almost like he was always searching for something else, something more.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Then in 1968, he gets married, starts a family with his wife, 4 children living in Phoenix and later Redwood City, California.
Right. Seems pretty normal.
Yeah, on the surface, totally normal.
But, if we look a little closer, I think cracks begin to show.
Right.
Family members describe him as physically abusive. There are even accounts of him, burning one of his sons with cigarettes.
Oh, that's awful.
Yeah.
So clearly there's this dark side lurking beneath the facade of the typical family man.
Oh, absolutely. And things escalate in 1975.
Right.
He's arrested for aggravated assault. His wife leaves him, takes the children.
Mm-hmm.
This seems to be the catalyst, the turning point that kind of set him on this completely different path.
Yeah, like losing that structure and
Yeah.
that family triggers something in him.
It's certainly possible. And from this point on, he really embraces this life on the run.
Right.
His family last sees him around 1975, 1976,
Okay.
with an unidentified woman.
Okay.
And then, poop, like a chameleon, he vanishes.
And that's where this mastery of disguise really comes into play, right? He pops up in Arizona, Colorado, California, Idaho,
Wow.
Virginia, Texas,
It's like he's everywhere.
Ohio, Oregon, Hawaii. It's just incredible how he was able to move through society undetected.
It's like he's a ghost.
Totally. And there's another recurring detail here, too. He's often traveling with women and children.
Right. And that's a crucial observation, I think, and a pattern that investigators would later focus on.
Right.
Who are these women and children? What were their relationships to Rasmussen?
Right.
These are questions that would haunt this case for years.
For years and years, yeah. And, he seems to have had this almost compulsive need to reinvent himself. Bob Evans in New Hampshire, working at the Wambic Mill.
Okay.
Curtis Kimball in California. Gordon Jensen again in California even becomes Jerry Mockerman
Wow.
after stealing a vehicle. And then Larry Vanner, when he meets Ian Soon June, also in California.
Yeah, you almost need a scorecard to keep track of
Yeah.
all his aliases.
Seriously.
It's really quite something.
And I think this constant identity shifting points to a highly manipulative personality.
Yeah.
Rooted in this deep-seated need for control and this desire to avoid accountability.
Right. Each new identity was like a mask.
Yeah.
A way to distance himself from his past and evade any potential consequences.
Yeah, he's just shedding his skin, leaving behind these empty shells while he moves on to the next one.
Right.
But his trail of aliases eventually led to one of the most horrific discoveries of this case, the Bear Brook Murders.
Right.
In 1985, in Bear Brook State Park in Allenstown, New Hampshire, a barrel was found containing the bodies of an adult woman and a young girl.
God, that's horrifying. And that discovery really sent shockwaves through the community. It was
Yeah.
it was the beginning of a very long and complex investigation, a puzzle that would take decades to solve.
Yeah.
And the case went cold for years, leaving the victims unidentified and the perpetrator just a phantom.
A phantom, totally. And the horror didn't end there in 2000. Another barrel was found about 100 yards from the first one. Inside were the remains of another young girl and a child, estimated to be between the ages of 2 and 4.
Ugh, it's just absolutely horrifying to think about, those children being robbed of their lives. It's just awful. And what's so disturbing is the brutality. All four victims died from blunt force trauma to the head,
Yeah.
which suggests a level of rage and violence that is just chilling.
It really is, and it wasn't until 2019, with advancements in DNA technology, that the adult female was identified as Marlise Honeychurch.
Okay.
And the two girls were confirmed to be her daughters, Marie Vaughn and Sarah McWaters.
It's just heartbreaking to think about what they must have gone by.
It is. Yeah, and then another twist comes. DNA evidence revealed that the fourth victim, the unidentified young girl, was Rasmussen's biological daughter.
Oh, wow.
And sadly, her identity remains unknown, so this detail adds another layer of complexity to the case, raising even more questions about his motives and the extent of his crimes.
Yeah, it's like every time you think you're getting a handle on this guy, there's another twist, another layer of the onion to peel back.
Totally, and so we have these victims in New Hampshire, but Rasmussen's story doesn't end there in 1981. After Thanksgiving, his girlfriend, Denise Boudin, vanishes from Manchester, New Hampshire, along with her 6-month-old daughter. And once again, we find Rasmussen at the center of this disappearance. He was the last person seen with him. This, coupled with his later actions, strongly suggests that Boudin met a tragic end at his hands. Her body has never been found.
It's just another piece of this horrifying puzzle.
Right, and here's where it gets truly disturbing. Rasmussen took Boudin's daughter and raised her under the name Lisa, posing as her father for years.
That's just unbelievable. I mean, it speaks volumes about his manipulative nature and his really chilling ability to just weave himself into these different environments. Like, he was a master of creating these false narratives,
Right.
instructing entire realities to suit his needs.
Yeah, it's incredibly unsettling to think about the psychological impact this must have had on Lisa.
Right.
Growing up with a man who wasn't her father and being denied her true identity for so long.
Yeah, it's just a devastating reality to be robbed of your family, your
Mhm.
history, and your sense of self. It's a profound and lasting trauma. And, as we'll see, this was just one chapter in a long and twisted saga.
Yeah, we'll pick that up next time.
Yeah, there's a lot more to uncover here.
A lot more to uncover. Yeah, it really is hard to fathom what that must have been like for Lisa.
Right.
Abandoned by the only person that she knew as her father, left to navigate the world alone at such a young age. But thankfully, as we know, Lisa was eventually able to discover her true identity in 2015.
Yeah, thanks to advancements in DNA technology and genealogy websites.
Right, can you explain how exactly genetic genealogy was used in her case?
Sure.
I think it would be helpful for our listeners to understand how this technology works, especially since it plays such a huge role in solving cold cases these days.
Yeah, absolutely. So genetic genealogy, it compares a person's DNA to these large databases of DNA profiles, and it's looking for matches that can indicate family relationships.
Okay.
So in Lisa's case, her DNA was compared to these databases and eventually linked her to relatives of Denise Boudin, her biological mother.
Wow.
It was a really groundbreaking application of this technology and a testament to its potential for uncovering the truth.
It really is remarkable how science can help piece together these fragments of shattered lives even decades later.
Yeah, it's amazing.
But before Lisa's true identity was revealed, justice did catch up with Rasmussen, although in a roundabout way he was arrested in 1989 for child abandonment using the alias Jerry Mockerman.
Right.
And his fingerprints linked him back to his previous aliases, slowly unraveling this web of deceit that he had so carefully woven.
Yeah, and that arrest was a pivotal moment in the investigation. It was the first time authorities were able to connect the dots between these various identities,
Right.
providing a glimpse into the true extent of his criminal activities, but there was still so much to uncover.
Yeah, so much more. Now let's fast forward to 1999.
Okay.
Rasmussen, calling himself Larry Vanner, meets chemist Yusub June in California. They start a relationship, even have an unofficial marriage in 2001.
Okay.
Tragically, like all of Rasmussen's relationships, theirs ended violently.
Right.
In June 2002, June disappears. Her remains were later found buried in cat litter in their home. The cause of death, like the victims in Bear Brook, blunt force trauma to the head, further solidifying this pattern of brutality.
Ugh, it's just awful.
He was finally arrested for June's murder and surprisingly pleaded guilty in 2003.
Why would he do that?
Why would he plead guilty?
Yeah.
Well, there are a couple of possibilities. Some speculate that he pleaded guilty to prevent further investigation into his past, potentially hiding even more secrets. Like he wanted to control the narrative, even as the walls were closing in.
Makes you wonder what else he might have been hiding.
Right, what other dark chapters were buried in his past? He was sentenced to 15 years to life in prison, but died in 2010 from a combination of lung cancer, COPD, and pneumonia.
Okay.
His death brought an end to his physical reign of terror, But the investigation, the pursuit of answers, was far from over.
Right.
In 2017, remember that unidentified woman and 3 children found in those barrels in Bear Brook State Park?
Oh, yeah.
Well, that's when Y-DNA testing was used to confirm that Bob Evans was indeed Peder Rasmussen.
Wow, that must have been a major breakthrough in the case.
It was connecting Bob Evans to Peder Rasmussen just blew the case wide open.
Yeah, it absolutely did. That confirmation not only solidified the link between these various identities, but also it opened the door to potentially linking him to other unsolved crimes across the country.
You're right.
It was like a domino effect, each new piece of information unlocking another.
This case is a landmark in forensic science. It shows just how powerful genetic genealogy can be. It paved the way for breakthroughs in other high-profile cases like the Golden State Killer.
Yeah, it's truly revolutionized the way we investigate cold cases, you know? This ability to connect DNA across generations and to search these vast databases has been a game changer for law enforcement.
Yeah.
And if it's brought a sense of closure to families that had all but given up hope.
It's just mind-boggling to think that a single DNA sample can untangle this web of secrets and lies that have been buried for years.
Right.
And it's not just those 4 victims in the barrels. There are several other potential victims thought to be linked to Rasmussen.
Yeah, 14-year-old Lorraine Ron vanished from Manchester in 1980. Denise Denault, who was 25 and lived near Rasmussen, disappeared in 1980. Then there's 17-year-old Elizabeth Lamotte, who disappeared from a youth center in Manchester in 1984. And let's not forget about Amanda Schumann-Dessa, whose body was found in a refrigerator in California in 1995.
Wow.
All of these cases bear these chilling similarities to Rasmussen's known modus operandi.
That's a long list of potential victims.
It is.
It's a stark reminder of the widespread impact of his crimes and the possibility that we may never know the full extent of his brutality.
Yeah, it's a sobering thought, and it underscores the importance of, continued vigilance and a relentless pursuit of the truth. We owe it to the victim and their families to never stop seeking answers.
There's one more detail that I find particularly unsettling.
Oh, okay.
Remember Lisa Denise Baudin's daughter, the one Rasmussen kidnapped and raised as his own?
Yeah.
Well, when detectives interviewed her in 1986, they asked her if she had any siblings, and she said she did, but that they died eating grass mushrooms when they were out camping.
Oh, wow. That's a haunting detail.
Yeah.
And what makes it even more disturbing is that there are no records of any other children connected to Rasmussen dying during that time period.
Right.
So it raises this chilling possibility that there are other victims out there,
Yeah.
their stories yet to be told.
It sends shivers down my spine just thinking about it.
Yeah.
It's like we're just scratching the surface of a much darker and more complex reality.
This case really serves as a stark reminder of the shadows that exist in our world.
Right.
And the individuals who operate within them, leaving a trail of pain and unanswered questions in their wake.
It's a lot to process, but it's important to acknowledge these ripple effects of these crimes, not just on the victims and their families, but on society as a whole.
Absolutely. It forces us to confront, the darker aspects of human nature. The potential for manipulation and violence that lurks beneath the surface, and it compels us to be more vigilant, more aware, and more committed to seeking justice for those who have been silenced.
Yeah, it really is a lot to absorb.
Yeah.
As we wrap up our deep dive into the life and crimes of Peder Rasmussen, the Chameleon Killer.
Right.
I think it's important to step back and consider what this all means. What can we learn from this man who was able to just weave himself into the fabric of society,
Right.
leaving this trail of devastation in his wake?
Well, his case, it really presents a chilling paradox. On the one hand, it highlights the power of science and technology to solve even the most complex cold cases. Advancements in DNA analysis and genetic genealogy have brought a sense of closure to countless families, like Lisa and her connection to her biological family.
Right.
And it's a beacon of hope, I think, in the face of unimaginable darkness.
It really is, yeah. Yet, on the other hand, Rasmussen's story serves as a stark reminder of just the depths of human depravity.
Yeah.
His ability to move undetected, assume new identities, and manipulate those around him, it underscores the challenges that we face in identifying and stopping those who operate the shadows.
Yeah, his case, it forces us to confront an unsettling truth. Evil doesn't always wear a mask.
Right.
It can be disguised in normalcy, hidden in plain sight.
It's true.
And it really challenges our assumptions about who we can trust and how we perceive danger.
That's what makes this case so disturbing. Rasmussen was able to blend in seamlessly,
Right.
appearing normal and trustworthy. It makes you question your own judgment.
Right.
How can someone maintain such a facade for so long?
Yeah.
What are the signs we should be looking for?
There's no easy answer.
Yeah.
Perhaps one takeaway is the importance of awareness,
Right,
not suspicion,
right.
but a healthy dose of skepticism.
Okay.
Paying attention to inconsistencies, listening to your gut instincts, and being willing to ask questions when something seems amiss.
It's a delicate balance, is it?
It is.
Between being cautious and being open to former connections with others?
It is. We don't want to live in a world where we're constantly afraid of everyone around us.
Right,
But we also can't afford to be naive. It's about being informed, staying vigilant, and trusting your intuition.
right.
And as you mentioned earlier, creating a culture where people feel comfortable speaking up when something feels wrong.
Exactly. If something feels off, it's better to err on the side of caution than to ignore those red flags.
Right.
But it's not just about protecting ourselves, it's also about supporting those who have been victimized.
Oh, absolutely. You're right. The families and loved ones of Rasmussen's victims have endured unimaginable pain and loss. Their stories deserve to be heard,
Yeah.
their resilience celebrated, and we need to ensure that they have access to the resources and support they need to heal and rebuild their lives.
Rasmussen's case is a reminder that even when the perpetrator is gone, the impact of their crimes continues to reverberate, through generations. And that justice, while sometimes delayed,
Yeah.
must always be pursued.
His story underscores the importance of never giving up hope. The advancements in forensic science, particularly DNA technology and genetic genealogy, have shown us that even cold cases can be solved.
Right.
They've become powerful tools for bringing closure to families and holding perpetrators accountable even decades after the crimes were committed.
It's like a testament to the enduring human spirit, this unwavering pursuit of truth and justice. Even in the face of unspeakable darkness, there's always a glimmer of light, a possibility of redemption.
And for anyone listening who wants to learn more about this case, I highly recommend checking out the Bear Brook podcast. It offers a deeply researched and compelling look into the investigation, the victims, and the ripple effects of this case on the world of forensic science.
Well, that concludes our deep dive into the world of the Chameleon Killer. It's been a heavy journey full of twists and turns, but it ultimately serves as a reminder of the importance of awareness, vigilance, and a relentless pursuit of justice.
Until next time, stay curious, stay informed, and remember that even in the darkest corners, there's always a flicker of hope.